Earlier this week, Biz to Credit released our annual Latino small business study. The impact of COVID-19 on Latino small businesses has been undeniable in particular. And we are also looking into the impact the corona crisis has on the minority owned small businesses. In this FinTech Friday, we discuss the role fintechs can play to help the minority owned small businesses to come out of this crisis more stronger and becoming more resilient.
Rohit, what does the data tell us about how minority-owned companies are dealing with this pandemic?
We have seen that the minority owned businesses have got unduly impacted by the corona crisis. Talking specifically about the Latino owned businesses, we saw that their revenues dropped by 42% overnight when the crisis started. In the summer, they have been cash flow negative and still they are down on an average by 21%. And this is true for other minority owned small businesses, and we see them having a lot more pain than Main Street businesses.
What are you hearing from business owners who fall into these minority communities? What struggles are they facing day to day?
I think they are facing two or three big struggles. One obviously is that a lot of them are in retail storefront kind of businesses where the sales have just dropped either because of the lockdown or because of the aversion of the customers to come back to shop or dine at retail storefronts. I think the other big challenge for them has been during the whole crisis has been the law and order situation, and I think the lack of new stimulus is also hurting them tremendously because they have run out of payroll protection program.
So Rohit, you yesterday hosted a session with two Congresspeople from the U.S. House of Representatives Small Business Committee, in which you had them respond to a whole bunch of small business owner questions. One other question that came in for you on this topic was, why did so many minority and women-owned businesses miss out or not get full advantage of the COVID-19 relief that the government was offering under the PPP and the CARES Act?
I think that's a very good question. So while the government had very good intentions with the PPP program, in my view, the immigrant-owned businesses like minority-owned businesses suffered very similar challenges. They didn't have very strong banking relationship. They didn't have a very strong, local ecosystem support from accountants or their other service providers, and a lot of them, couldn't apply for money. The second thing is that even if they applied for money, there was some miscalculations that we saw where the amount of money they were eligible for was much more than what they actually got. And we foresee a similar problem coming in during the forgiveness process also, because it's a cumbersome process and it's a process which requires a lot of professional assistance and help. And if these minority or immigrant owned businesses don't get that help, my concern is that a lot of them will not be able to avail even the forgiveness piece in the right way until and unless the government decides to do a blanket forgiveness.
In your view, what does a fintech company like Biz to Credit really have to offer minority business owners at a time like this? What is the role that a fintech has to play?
I think fintech has a very critical role during this crisis, and as we start seeing the second wave of coronavirus, starting, I think as a fintech, we are very committed to provide a great digital experience. We have now fully integrated into SBA, so the e-trans number will be very easy to obtain. We have build a lot of expertise over last 7-8 months to help businesses get money faster. We are encouraging them to apply either directly or through their accountants and CPAs and financial advisors. So I think it's a very important time for players like us, especially the fintech players, because we are now becoming more and more like a centerpiece in this whole, PPP delivery. So Biz to Credit's mission always has been to help small businesses in the country to get access to credit, but also to get a lot of the credit education and the information, especially for the minority-owned businesses. My belief is that during this crisis, we need to redouble our efforts to actually grow this endeavor and also actually help as many businesses and business owners as we can do for them to overcome and survive during the crisis. My take is that we still have to make a lot of progress to improve the financial inclusion of minority-owned businesses in the country. The government and the policymakers have a big role to play to speed up this financial inclusion, which will make us in a better society. For the financial institutions, it makes a lot of business sense to not only embrace but also speed up the financial inclusion both in their workforce as well as for their small business and other business clients, because not only will it make them successful, it will also make them into a more long-term business.
Starting now.